What is going on, YouTube? I am Germ here. Today we are following up on a very, very big story that we talked about yesterday. Yesterday we obviously had this post coming out from LEC Wooloo. This said, hey, sources, Hans Sama is parting ways with Team Liquid. That wasn't necessarily a shock to a lot of people. He says in this report that it seems like Team Liquid is going to be terminating his contract, and that Hans Sama is then wants to return to Europe rather than like looking for another team in North America or whatever. But yeah, not super shocking to a lot of people. Hans Sama was not all that impressive in NA this year. I don't know if he was like 4th, 5th, 6th best AD carry, somewhere in there. 6 is probably too low, but I would say he was probably in the 4th to 5th range. And that's in the LCS, where overall the AD carries are not as strong as the LEC. Overall I think the LEC and LCS are pretty close, but I've been very, very impressed with the LEC AD carries over the past year, and I think AD carry is probably one of maybe not the weaker positions in the LCS, but like I think AD carry might be the strongest position in the LEC right now. So, hey, if Hans Sama was like 4th or 5th in the LCS, what's he going to be in the LEC? Now, hey, it could have been Team Liquid. It could have been that him and Core JJ didn't mesh. It could have been that he didn't like North America. It could have been, traveling issues, home. It could have been a lot of things. Hans Sama could absolutely go back and be a beast. But, again, the fact that Team Liquid's terminating contract isn't crazy, especially when you understand all the money they spent on him and the fact that they said, hey, we don't want to do super teams anymore. We're looking to, build some players up from within our own infrastructure. We talked about that yesterday, but the bigger part that I want to talk about today is the second half of this. The fact that they say, several teams have contacted the French player. Kcorp is the main contender, and as a consequence, Rekkles is now exploring options in the LEC, trying to find a new home. This was crazy, crazy, crazy to a lot of people. The fact that Rekkles is most likely going to be needing another team because, obviously, or most likely, Hans Sama going to Kcorp if they're able to get a deal done, which it seems like they're close, seems like they're on the right track, who knows. That deal is going to be contingent on Kcorp getting into the LEC. And if Kcorp gets in the LEC, then they're going to get Hans Sama and Rekkles is going to be gone. But if Kcorp doesn't get in the LEC and doesn't get Hans Sama, then Rekkles likely would have been leaving anyway. But also now, since he's hearing the team doesn't even want him, or the team's trying to get other AD carries, he might just be leaving anyway. So Rekkles is going to be looking for a new home. And this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. This is where things start to get a little bit spicy because I don't think many people imagined a world without Rekkles on Kcorp in the LEC. That had been the talk, hey, these two, they're going to go hand in hand. They're going to go together. And to me, this is definitely a little bit strange. I know I put out a poll on Twitter and on YouTube saying, hey, who do you guys think is better right now, Hans Sama or Rekkles? And Rekkles overwhelmingly won those polls. Now, yes, it is very, very hard to compare. I absolutely get it. Rekkles was playing in ERLs. Hans Sama was playing in the LCS. Again, not that the LCS is all that insane, but Hans Sama really didn't look all that great. And not that Rekkles looked that amazing in Summer Split either, but Rekkles looked really, really good in the spring. Also, thinking back to last year, yes, Hans Sama did amazing at Worlds, but Rekkles was really good last year too. Yes, G2 didn't make it to Worlds, but Rekkles won Spring MVP in 2021. I'm pretty sure he was one of the better AD carries in Summer. Like, it's not like Rekkles had been bad in the LEC. He just didn't work out with G2. And then he had an expensive buyout, and that's why he wasn't able to get onto another team. But the fact that he was willing to go to Kcorp and play in the ERLs, and the fact that he was willing to, help Kcorp grow their brand, grow their fan base. Like, yes, Kcorp was insane. They were massive. They were big. But Rekkles absolutely added to that. And he didn't have to. He didn't have to play in the ERLs. There's probably a lot of LEC players that wouldn't have been willing to play in the ERLs. That would have rather streamed or sat out or wait. We had many people do that, like Self-Made, like Niski, like Jensen. A lot of these guys on, Team McDonald's or whatever you want to call it. But Rekkles was willing to go play for Kcorp because he was excited about the possibility of building himself back up, competing for EU Masters titles, and then also trying to get back in the LEC with Kcorp. So the fact that Kcorp would be willing to kick him, replace him, move on from him, is kind of crazy to me in the first place, and it makes me wonder a little bit. But also the fact that they're willing to get rid of him, kick him, move on from him for an AD carry that's not even coming off a great split, maybe one of the worst splits of his career, honestly, in Hans Sama, and that's saying a lot. Hans Sama's had a lot of good splits, and I don't think this split with TL was that disastrous or that horrible, but it wasn't that good. And when you already have Rekkles, I just don't really understand. I think at best this is kind of a side grade or maybe even a downgrade. Now, I do understand Hans Sama's French, coming to a French team, that's going to make a lot of sense, but where is Rekkles going to end up? And like I said, there's so many good LEC AD carries. So yeah, where is this guy going to end up? I don't know for sure. But we do we're kind of able to confirm some of this stuff. Rekkles did end up posting on his Instagram story. I guess this was maybe yesterday, maybe today. He tweeted out this little picture from Moon Omens. I don't know, kind of a repost of an Instagram picture that says, "You deserve to be loved and chosen, not almost loved or almost chosen." And that's very, very, I don't know, coincidental, interesting, that obviously fits this moment like very, very perfectly, or almost exactly. You know, he is being almost loved, almost chosen by Kcorp and the organization as they try to make their way into the LEC. Again, everyone thought, I'm sure Rekkles thought as well, that they were in this together, that their journey back to the LEC was Kcorp getting to the LEC and Rekkles returning to the LEC. But obviously that does not seem to be the case, and I'm sure that does somewhat come as a shock to Rekkles. I know he also tweeted out this. He's tweeted dreaming of blue, which obviously blue is Kcorp, the blue wall. He is giving them a little shout out. I'm sure he is going to look back on this season very, very fondly. But yes, this was him, on the LEC finals, on the broadcast desk, stuff like that. But he also has been tweeting at some fans and stuff like that. He tweeted, somebody tweeted at him this picture from the LEC finals, hashtag KCLEC, and he tweeted like a fingers crossed emoji. Like, I don't know if that means fingers crossed that they get to the LEC, fingers crossed that we get to the LEC together, or just, hey, we're all in this together. No matter what happens, I still love you guys, that kind of stuff. I don't know. But again, all signs kind of are pointing to this being true, this being real, and Rekkles potentially being on the way out for Kcorp, with them going after Hans Sama. I think Hans Sama liked this tweet from LEC Wooloo as well. Somebody told me that. I don't know. I haven't seen that. It's got 25,000 likes. I'm not going to be able to scrape through all that. But where is Rekkles going to go? It's not going to be G2. It's not going to be Kcorp if and when they make it to the LEC. So where is it going to be? I know I replied to this tweet and I said Vitality Reki. And a lot of people, and myself included, I've said this before, hey, Perks doesn't really like Rekkles. Not as a person, I don't think, but as a player, he doesn't really like his style. He doesn't think he fits in well. People had talked about, Perks teaming up with Rekkles before, and Perks just kind of said on stream, like, no, I don't want to do that, or no thanks, or, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, Perks is also playing on a team that just finished 7th in the LEC, playing on a super team that spent a lot of money. Didn't even make the playoffs, didn't even make World, so maybe he'll be singing a different tune, or maybe he won't even have a choice. They might come to Perks and tell him, hey, you can play with another year of Carzzy, who wasn't all that great in 2022, or you can play with Rekkles and you can try to make things work. You can hear him out and you guys can work together and try to do something great. Or the other option is that Perks can leave as well. Perks can try to go somewhere else. He can maybe end up on a Fnatic or another one of these other teams. I don't know, but I do think Vitality Rekkles is a very, very interesting option. There's also this, Jack Spector tweeted, hey, it's rough out here. And Jack Spector also ended up tweeting out like, oh man, not again, or something like that, which I did think was a little bit funny. Let me see if I can find this real quick. He said, no way it happens again, right? This is obviously talking about Jack Spector was supposed to be the AD carry for Kcorp. They end up getting Rekkles. He replaces him. Jack Spector ends up having to go to Team Heretics. Now Team Heretics is coming into the LEC. Jack Spector expected to be the starting AD carry for them, but what if Rekkles slides over and becomes a starting AD carry for Heretics? I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. That seems very, very unlikely. It seems like Heretics probably doesn't even want to spend a lot of money, but it's an interesting storyline. I do think Vitality is a team that just makes an absolute ton of sense. And there's not really a ton of other teams that make a ton of sense in the LEC. There's not necessarily going to be a ton of other teams that are looking for AD carry. So then all of a sudden you might have to look to the LCS and, hey, TSM, Team Liquid, I don't know, one of these other teams. It's just going to be really, really hard. And honestly, there might be a world where once again, Rekkles ends up teamless in 2023. That does seem very, very possible. But it does seem like, at least from this LEC Wooloo post, that Rekkles is going to be exploring his options in the LEC. He doesn't talk about the LCS. He doesn't talk about anywhere else. So he might be trying to get on one of these teams. But if you think around, like, Rogue with Koi, Comp has been a beast this year. Fnatic has Upset. Maybe Upset wants to leave. Maybe Rekkles returns home to Fnatic. I don't know. That does seem kind of rather unlikely, especially because Upset's just been a beast, but maybe things don't go well at Worlds. I don't know. You think like Excel, they have Patrick. I mean, maybe he could go to somewhere like Astralis or something like that, but that's probably going to end up being Kcorp. You have teams like SK, something weird like that. G2, obviously he's not going there. I don't know. You just kind of start to run out of teams. You start to run out of places for him to go, especially when Heretics and Kcorp probably aren't going to be options. And I really don't know. But this is very, very big news. I am a little bit shocked. I am surprised that Kcorp is kind of turning their back on Rekkles. Again, yes, it makes sense for a player with a high ceiling like Hansama and for a French player to build around their French fan base, but it does seem a little bit cold. And man, I hope this works out for Kcorp, because if Hansama comes back and he isn't good, and Rekkles goes somewhere else and he is good, this is not going to be a great look for the new LEC franchise. But again, this doesn't confirm Kcorp is making it to the LEC, but I think this whole story and whole report does really increase the chances of Kcorp probably moving up to the LEC, because why would they be going through all this if they didn't think they were even going to be in the LEC in the first place? But I don't know. Pretty much over this video today, guys. Definitely very, very big news. Rekkles, Kcorp seem likely to be parting ways at this point. I don't know for sure. We'll have to wait and see. Definitely drop a like if you guys did enjoy it. I'd appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about anything we talked about in this video today. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.